Hello and welcome to Off the Record. Jesse and I are recording on a Wednesday night. Jesse had a long time to recover from playing beer pong for the first time. And also playing in some other drinking games that I don't quite understand in Brooklyn. I'm not sure if I didn't understand them because I'm a college graduate and I never played drinking games in college, or because it was in Brooklyn, or some mixture of the two. But here we are. Hi, Jesse.
How's it going?
It's going. It's a Wednesday. I have to go to Brooklyn again tomorrow.
You're so lucky. You get to be in the greatest place on earth again.
I have
instead of at a rainy lake house all day.
I have the one day a year I have a graduation party. It was the coldest and rainiest day of summer.
Your parade was literally rained on.
Yeah, that's my whole life, man.
We still had fun.
We did still have fun. Jesse bought me a physical paperback book as a present.
I should say to the readers, because they'll enjoy
the listeners. You mean the listeners or the readers that listen? The listeners that read, maybe?
They'll enjoy how hard I trolled you on your gift, because I did buy you a gift. That is one of the best gifts. I bought you Please Kill Me, which is the best book on punk. But it's also because you know nothing about punk, and I had to troll you at least a little. But that is the best book and one of the most enjoyable reads you'll ever have.
I should have my father read it as well.
I mean, it was a lot about probably the time he was still, having fun in life.
It would give him a break from his Bill O'Reilly fictional novels.
Oh, man, that is rough.
We're starting out on a fun note.
Well, would you like to do some follow-up?
Sure. I just wanted to mention real quick, At Venue is a service that I believe we have certainly talked about on the show before in the prior 55 episodes. What is At Venue for those
55, who don't? Zach, this is 60.
60?
Yeah.
I can't. You know how many times I took math? At Venue, for those who don't know, for those who are in new bands, for those who are figuring their life out, At Venue is a very wonderful service. It is a web service, a iPhone app, an Android app, etc., where musicians and touring artists can report their music sales and have them be sent off to the SoundScan and Billboard charts every week, and then also do other things like inventory their merch sales and send reports to managers, label reps, etc. So, for example, if Knucklepuck are on Warped Tour and they sell 50 CDs today, I can wake up to an email tomorrow seeing that they sold 50 CDs and then knowing that those 50 CDs went off to SoundScan, which is a huge help because back in the days before I was involved in this music industry, I am told that reporting sales on the road was a true disaster.
That is true. You used to literally use sheets of paper to do it, and then never mind also the disaster. I think still a disaster reporting to your publisher to get publishing for your venue performances. Oh,
still awful. Sucks. A lot easier if you have a publisher. Like, for example, now, like what my bands do is after every tour, our publisher will be like, what did they play on the last tour? And we'll send the most apt set list of what they played, whether that was 7 songs, 15 songs, whatever. And then 18 months later, you'll get $5 from BMI or ASCAP or whatever.
Yeah, that $5 is
the
very hard.
It's for the next Taco Bell purchase on a tour. But anyway, At Venue sent out an email to people that use their service earlier this week, just as an update that they have partnered with SoundScan Deeper ahead of the global release date. So beginning Friday, July 10th, and that's the first global release date, At Venue will become Nielsen SoundScan's preferred venue sales data provider and will automatically submit all venue sales recorded in At Venue directly to SoundScan on a daily basis. So one, this is sort of a major vote of confidence to At Venue from SoundScan, which is really all that matters about tracking sales. And two, it will be daily reporting and a lot more fluid. So I would really say for any artist or manager or record label person that does not use that does not use At Venue and thinks that they probably should be using At Venue, please do so. They're a great service. It makes my life wildly easier every day for management.
I think they're a great company.
Great company. There's some good people there. We know some of them.
So let's get into the meat.
The meat of this podcast. I don't know, man. What did Taylor Swift do this week?
Thank God nothing. I'm sure just sat around being a fuck girl with no booty, as Diplo would say.
Wow. Is that the guy in Jack U?
That's the guy in Jack U.
Oh,
you
I
learned
get.
this.
Wow. What's the other band that I think has a cooler name?
I don't remember.
Isn't Diplo in another band?
Major Lazer.
Major Lazer. I think it's a cool name. I could see a lot of fuckboys liking Major Lazer just because of the name.
I am with that. I mean, you know why a lot of other fuckboys like it? Because you know that Queen Bee, Beyonce, stole that. Well, I shouldn't say stole. She basically took a whole Major Lazer song and made that Who Run the World Girls song from a Major Lazer song. Like, that's just the instrumental track, and she wrote a new vocal over it.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I don't know anything about Beyonce except the Queen can be late and is never late because the Queen can never be late, which is something that The Verge posted today when posting about that she welcomed in equal rights in marriage 4 days late. And then the post ended with, but the Queen is never late. And I enjoyed that. And I will use that in the future when talking about you.
Oh, I'm never late to anything either.
No, definitely
like not. Ever. Like I'm one of the most prompt people who's ever walked the earth. There's no sarcasm going on now.
None. So Apple Music, a service that started 1 year and 2 months ago when Apple bought Beats Hardware and Beats Music right before WWDC last year for $3 billion, has launched. It launched on the 29th of June. On the 30th of June. And there's a 3-month trial. When you sign up for the 3-month trial, it prompts you to sign up for a $9.99 plan or a family plan of $15. You can opt out of those, etc. But it's launched. It's here. Jesse and I have been talking about it for what feels like since the second episode of the podcast we recorded.
It has been a long time coming.
It has been. It feels, yeah, it's truly been 60 episodes worth of Off the Record. The last few months kind of really heated up, I think. We saw so much, as we've talked about, we saw Spotify getting into exclusive content, updating their apps, buying analytics services, raising more money, doubling their users in just a few months. We saw Tidal launch. We saw RDO flounder a bit and continue floundering. We saw, as recently as today, July 1st, Facebook maybe dipping its toe into music, etc.
I tweeted it. In the future, every corporation will have its own music streaming service.
I agree, and we talked about this maybe a few weeks ago, but just my thought, and I think you agree that, like, look, I hate to tell you, but music is a commodity. There's a few things that every major service must have, right? Every operating system, right? You must be able to text message. You need a notes app. You need a web browser, etc. You know what else you need now? You need a music streaming app because it's just a commodity. And I think saying that, maybe you don't agree, but I think saying that on my end is a little like, people could very well be very upset at that because it's me saying, well, art doesn't really matter. And art does matter, but to the people that have the greatest control over art, like Apple, like Google, it's just another checkbox. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, and I think like it's silly because one of the things like people always talk about is like, who's gonna win? Is it gonna be Apple, Spotify, or whoever? And maybe it's just that you people watch sports so much and you're used to like there being a winner and a loser. In my eyes, if I had to predict what's going to be, is there's really going to just be Amazon's going to have their service, and yeah, moms are going to use it, and Xbox Music's going to have it, and yeah, whatever weirdos still use Xbox are going to use it. And like, yes, Apple and Spotify are going to duke it out. I think Spotify is going to be much more about being the free player, like kind of like what YouTube is, and Apple's going to be much more about people who just want the ease of a functionality but are willing to pay for some music. And there's going to be all these other niches all through this streaming sector, just like there'll be Google Play for people who are weird enough to use Androids, aka broke motherfuckers.
What I will say, I think Apple kind of wins regardless because the most people using Spotify are probably on a Mac and an iOS device. And that's where all the people are going to be using Apple Music as well. That's where the most people are going to use Rdio or Tidal, etc. It's funny because Apple obviously has the most desire to have their service do really well. At the same time, Apple's software system is the most popular in the world. It does not sell the most, but it makes the most money, and it is regarded the best. And companies build for iOS before they do Android still. And Apple kind of has a a leg up regardless. That being said, we obviously will see as time goes on about free versus a paid, whether 3 months of a lead in as a hook in for Apple Music is well enough to get people to convert and to not join Spotify. And now we can maybe get into our first 2 days use of the service. But, at a bare minimum, I would say that Apple still has the wild power of any time when Apple sells 72 million iPhone 6Ss in the first 6 months, every single one of those individuals will have Apple Music on their home screen on the bottom right corner with a potential 3-month subscription if they haven't already started using it. And that's going to be more people than Spotify currently has as is, not counting everyone with an iPhone already.
Well,
so
our friend Matt Cola, who at Matt Rocksteady on the Twitter machine, he made a great tweet that Apple just needs to get 10% of their installed base to have more users than Spotify.
And I think that's pretty possible.
I would say when I heard Ed, I was waiting for Ed Seed.
Yep.
Done.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Streaming service commodity drop.
Pretty much done, and that's why it's kind of funny when you see, fuckboy Sean Parker and talking all this shit and everything, and Spotify putting out really obnoxious press releases in anticipation of this, because it's really not that hard for Apple to do it. Now, with that said,
shall we get into it? The services.
Yeah, I mean,
if you do not have Apple Music installed and you want to have Apple Music installed, what you need to do if you have an iOS device is you need to go to System Preferences and go to Software Update to update to iOS 8.4. It'll automatically reboot your music app. If you have a Mac and you are on Yosemite, you need to upgrade iTunes to 12.2. And then you'll have Apple Music everywhere. If you have an Android device, Apple Music will launch on Android in the fall, I would imagine, by September 30th. So I clicked Apple Music, and then there was something that they brought over from Beats that drove me mental.
Yeah, the bubbles, right?
Yeah, I remember on like the second or third episode, I signed up for Beats Music because I had never used it before. And we talked about how it drove me nuts that I had to go through a launch screen that included me picking the kinds of music genres and artists I liked with these little red bubbles that are definitely attractive, right? Like those are
it's great design.
Great design, really nice UI. And what I would say is a really bad user experience because,
yes.
You know what? Bubble wasn't there.
Punk. I said it.
You said it. You said it. I retweeted it. And this is the thing. I know Punk is a quote-unquote minority. In my head, even though Metallica have sold 800 million albums, metal's also a minority, and it's there, right? Even though you could obviously throw in Green Day, The Clash, Blink, whatever, into punk bands that have sold millions of records. But so that's a frustrating process for me, and I imagine a lot of our listeners, because
Zach, we need to do a stop here because there was a greater atrocity in this process.
Okay, go on.
I couldn't find bands that I liked despite clicking indie, alternative, and dance.
So that's the thing.
But it gets worse. I got so frustrated, I had to click that I liked Death Cab for Cutie without a bubble that says, but none of those crappy new records.
That was one of the only things that I could find that I liked.
Oh, it hurt my soul to have to pretend.
I'm so happy that you did. You get the intro to Ben Gibbard playlist?
it killed my soul to have to say that I want any part of anything after Plans.
I know you listened to the intro to Ben Gibbard playlist. Don't you lie to me.
That definitely did not happen.
What about the Death Cab for Cutie Deep Cuts playlist?
Oh my God, I'd rather hang myself.
Oh, I'd rather hang myself out of pure misery of joy.
That was not your best sentence.
I don't need best sentences because Ben can sing for me.
Oh man, yeah, I don't need to hear any more songs about Zozo.
So yeah, the onboarding, this is the thing, that onboarding experience, like I bet when Tim Cook launched the Beats app a year ago or whatever, he was like, this is really nice. That was probably like a nice thing for him, but it's not a nice thing if you're a fringe person. Lucky enough, if Apple gets 10% of its user base to join and beat out Spotify, the majority of its user base is going to be very happy with those little bubbles that they pick on. But for example, I had to like hobble together a mix of indie and alternative and rock choices to find only like Death Cab, Bon Iver, All Time Low in the Main, which is like fringes for me in all senses.
Oh, I know. I saw that All Time Low, and that was the first quote unquote, since I don't call them punk band, to come up. And I literally, like, my soul ached.
Really interesting, though, that All Time Low was on there.
Yeah, they had a top 5 record.
They had a #1 record.
Was it number? Oh, that's right. It was. I thought it was top #2 that week.
Well,
I just missed it.
It sold the most, I will say. It did not stream the most. It
Yes.
streamed. It
Okay.
streamed below Wiz Khalifa, which is maybe a victory. So let's you got Pat. You select your bubbles. You sign up for a $10 a month plan, which you can definitely opt out of. However, I don't plan on opting out of it, so it wasn't a problem for me. And then you're in. When you're in, you are granted by like 5 bottom icons. One is For You, one is New, one is Radio, Connect, and then My Music. How should we start?
Well, let's just start going through what we saw.
Okay.
I have to say, the most pleasurable part of it for me was Connect.
Interesting. Okay, so yeah, I saw you tweet. Tell them what you tweeted.
So one of the dance groups I followed was Classics, who are one of my favorite groups. And so they, on their Connect, had shared a Diplo and Friends mix where they did a nice little dance mix. And then I started following some more people that I liked. I found more artists and curators, as they put it, which kind of made my stomach turn, because I hate calling musicians artists, and the one thing I hate more than that is calling them curators. But I have to say, Connect is what I wanted it to be, which is fans not just sharing their dumb Twitter thoughts or their dumb Tumblr thoughts, but sharing like content that is associated with the creation of their music. And I have to say, I found 2 great DJ sets from that, and I was pretty stoked. I had a pretty damn good bike ride to work yesterday because of it.
Okay, so my thought on Connect, we can talk about Connect for a little bit, I guess.
Yes.
It annoys me because I think it is really good. So if you didn't see, if you're a band or you're a manager or whatever, you can sign your artist up, or if you're an artist, you can sign yourself up for a Connect account at iCloud.com. And so I did that for Sorority Noise. And Knucklepuck, though it hasn't come through for Knucklepuck. But I now am one of the controllers of Sorority Noise's Apple Music Connect accounts, right? And that's cool. I don't know when I'll start using it or poking around with it. Like Zach Zarillo, I am following Zane Lowe, All Time Low, Death Cab for Cutie, and Blink, and a few others, and they're the only ones of mine that I follow that are using it so far. But I guess I really like Connect at what it is. I could see myself going there a lot because it does feel sort of like a mix between Instagram and Tumblr in good ways. But I want to be in Connect, Jesse, like me.
So you want to be able to share the things you like with people,
right? And you know what? I did that.
I
did that a few times, and then I went into Connect, and it was sharing a Sorority Noise, and I was like, oh shit, I need to delete this.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I don't care about my friends' music. I care about the musicians. I think that's what's different about this than Twitter and Facebook, because I like the idea. I don't like, it's one of the things I don't care about Spotify is like, I don't really care. Like, that's why we have other social networks.
Okay, but
This
so
should be
don't you
this should
think
just be an
people,
artist stream of what's going on with their music and content around their music.
Okay, so what do you think about this? I know a ton of people that truly love Spotify because they can see what their friends are listening to and they find so much music because of that.
Listen, I get it if they want to do something like that, but that's why I personally don't love using Spotify, because I get annoyed all the day when I'm trying to listen to stuff by this noise on the side of my Facebook friends who literally, I would say 85% of my Facebook friends, I don't even know who the fuck they are.
More than that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to go down that road. But like, I don't care what they're listening to, and I just don't think it's done well. Like to have a constant noise of like, this is what your Facebook friends do, and I know other people disagree. I do like the being able to send people a song.
Right,
I do like
playlists and being able to
playlists.
follow the playlist right from an app. Like,
So, but what if this just isn't that type of service? I mean, this
Or
is
what if
Apple's
it's
thing.
not on the 1.0?
Apple's always so clean with their stuff.
yeah, and I think that's good. And it's just funny because I never want that feature on Spotify, but it's because I never really want to use Spotify. And the first day when I saw these artists sharing things, I was like, I wish I could share stuff too. And so I wonder in the future if there might be like an artist versus friends pane or something like that, you know?
So what you're saying is you're one of those managers who really wants to be the artist.
I would love to see what you post. Like if
You know that's not true.
maybe not you, but like seriously, when I see people post things on Spotify, I am interested about them, but I never use Spotify long enough to ever take stock in those things.
I used Spotify a lot this week, and the real thing that distracted me was the noise.
So like after we finish recording, I'm going to write something for Friday on the site. That's just like my favorite music stuff so far of this year. Mm-hmm. And I want to use Apple Music to, to like link to songs or albums. And I want to make a playlist, and I'm going to make a playlist. And I know that I'll be able to use a link, and that people with with Apple Music will be able to get in there and just add it to their playlist. But it just feels a little less social, and I'm not. Here's
I think that's the thing.
deal.
I think that's what they're trying to differentiate themselves. But I think Spotify is trying to be that thing where you can link everybody to playlist, and you have to sit through some commercials if you're not paying.
Yeah, and here's the deal too, I'll say, with this product. There's been a lot of general, like, this thing is clearly 0.5 worse than Spotify. And, you know, I just wonder, like, if we could bring back version 1 of Spotify when it launched in the US compared to Apple Music now, which would be better, right? I think as we'll talk about, there's a lot wrong with Apple Music. There's a lot right. But what I will say, I think it's a really, really good 1.0 product.
I think some of the design is impeccable. It has flaws, but I think that there's so much of this pundit stuff that like is ridiculous. I even saw like people were like, da da da, they made this in so little time. I think that's ridiculous too. Like I was a Mog user because I had a free account. And like this is really, I see things from Mog in here. I see things from Beats, and it's not even that far different from Beats.
Yeah, I think, and what's nice to it, like the layout feels right on my iPhone, on my iPad, and on my Mac. I will say it's frustrating. Just iTunes is just so bogged down, and that is one of Apple's massive weaknesses on the Mac. But it looks it looks good everywhere. The inspired, like the playlist that they have in the For You section, like there's this. I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to click it and hope it doesn't play music. Yes, okay. There's an inspired by Green Day music, by Green Day playlist, and it takes up like the whole length of the whole width of the screen. The graphics are just done really well, and they've put in clearly so much time into curating these things and to doing them well. As someone that doesn't listen to playlists, I was tweeting yesterday, I listened to a bunch of playlists and I kind of enjoyed them all. I didn't skip any songs.
You know what's funny though? This was the whole idea behind Beats. So that's what I'm kind of saying too, though. Yeah. It's like everything they're doing here. I mean, the layout's much better. Like I'm looking at the music our editors thing is in, and like, man, this is just so great. It looks fantastic. But, you know, with the richest company ever in the existence of mankind, kind of better be.
Totally. And I think they clearly improved on so much, and really like they did a 9-month haul basically to rebuild this service that they're hoping can be from 0 to 60 to 100 million people within a few years, right? And that's a lot. Yes, there was underlying technology, but they wiped away all of it, I think, and rebuilt a whole new thing. And I'm pretty impressed so far. So a little more on the For You section. I do like it. There are all these playlists. There's recommendations. So, for example, I'm looking at my iPad now. There's an Inspired by Green Day, Fall Out Boy Deep Cuts, and Intro to the Used playlist. And some of this is obviously not, like I don't listen to the Used, so I can click on it and I can say show less like this, and that's I don't mind doing that. And over time, it learns, which is really nice.
Yes.
And then it pops up in the For You section all these albums that you might already have and haven't listened to in a while, or that it might think you would like. So like. New Third Eye Blind album and Kevin Devine's Brother's Blood and a Jawbreaker record are all showing up. And I think a lot of people might just be like, oh, I'll listen to one of those. And I think it's really good, and I think it's smart. The new section is kind of like what you know when you go to iTunes. It shows you new music, obviously. However, now that I'm thinking about it, I saw Jesse tweet yesterday that he is sticking with RDO because he does not like the news section. But I clearly think he's full of shit.
You said it best, though. This is the problem, is it's exactly like iTunes. It's all this like major label, major distribution, dominated power of who gets the favor to have the featured spot. What I love about RDO is RDO's new release page is done by who's listened to it the most, not by who does it. When you click at 1201, it is literally scattered with the worst music you've ever seen, because RDO just throws it up there, and whoever's listening to it, they just update it with plays as you refresh it, and it's just a spreadsheet that sorts by popularity. So a perfect example is like, all right, this is going to be embarrassing.
Oh, I'm going to love this. Did you listen to the Hillary Duff album?
No, so I didn't know the new Man Overboard record was out because I worked so hard last week. But I discovered it was out because I went to the new release page and it was high up on that page. That's not happening with this Apple thing. And even though I would love to know there's a new Man Overboard record out, considering who I am, I didn't know, because if I just looked at Apple Music, they're not showing me that. They're just showing me the stuff they want to do because they're ramming Taylor fucking Swift down my throat.
Yes, and also they have deals with distributors. Like, so Rise, so look, there's a chance that when Knucklepuck's new album comes out, Rise will have secured a top 8 spot on their new music listing. That's how it's always worked. Yes.
Yes. So that's the problem, is I want democratization. I want to be able to just sort through the things that people are actually listening to, not what distributors and major labels are shoving down my throat.
I am curious, like, if they'll, like, over time break this up into more like recommended as you like things for the new section. And I think that.
That's got to happen. I think that's always been one of Apple's biggest flaws, is like, why? Because I bought something on iTunes, do you then alert me when Enrique Iglesias and Susan Boyle put out a new record when I bought a Mew record? Like, this is just like so irrelevant to me, and it so ignores how music purchasing works.
Totally. So, something else I wanted to note. What's really interesting about the For You and New section is that there's some major curation from maybe quote unquote trusted allies, from curators, from Rolling Stone, Pitchfork, Alternative Press. If you'll remember, Spotify launched apps like a year and a half ago, and they've all but died now.
I wouldn't say that. They're just not the focus everybody thought they were going to be.
Right. And
there's some of the apps that are very functional and very big parts of people's lives.
Well, so like upon launch, so like I just clicked Alt Press's section on Apple Music. They have playlists called Our Favorite Pierce the Veil Songs, Bands We Wish Never Broke Up, two pieces that prove duos do it better, Grindcore Micro Epics. Let me click this.
Oh,
what is any of this music?
If there's one genre of music I would love to never hear a note of again, it's definitely grindcore.
Then they have like summer songs, punk rock guitar solos.
Let me make a declaration here, Zach. I would rather listen to Lord Fraudzilla's solo record for
Lord Franzilla.
well, let's say you're forced to listen to a record for a week, and it's any grindcore or Lord Franzilla's solo record for a week. I'll take Lord Franzilla's solo record for a week.
Wow, love it. Love to hear this stuff.
Can I say something about Lord Franzilla's solo record? So I gave it a listen yesterday. I give it a quick browse. The instrumental tracks are dope.
Oh my God.
No, I'm serious. Like, he got some talented people to do it. There's this horn thing on the first song. It's a really good hook. They should have given it to somebody with talent and who isn't a homophobic moron.
Okay. Jesus. I don't even have a beer next to me.
You know, it's not an off the record episode if we don't talk about Attilo.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I'm just trying not to say they have good instrumentals, man.
I'd much rather talk about Attila than Queen Fuck Girl.
I don't even know.
So back to Apple.
Back to Apple. The next section is Beats, or is radio. I listened to Beats One with Zane Lowe for about an hour yesterday. I was wildly... Oh, I just said listen now. Let's turn that off. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, get loose, dog.
Get loose. I was really impressed that besides like a Pharrell song... everything he played, like, I had truly no idea who it was.
Really?
And
I knew like every bit of that. But
I think most people definitely didn't know who those artists were, though, right?
Really?
Like,
they
he played he played a Weekend song. I know what the Weekend is. Okay.
Okay, but I know who Boley is and Shamir. You should know who Shamir is. He covered an artist on your record label. Oh wait, we're not allowed to talk about that yet.
It's okay.
That's what editing's for.
What I will say is that, like, it wasn't like he came out and he played Kanye West, Beyonce, Pharrell, Jay-Z, etc., etc., etc. He did, like...
Have you ever heard of that band AC/DC he played?
Well, dude, that's because they got the whole catalog.
Ugh, worst.
It was kind of compelling. Like, I don't like... The music he played is not like I don't like it, but it was like it was like energetic, and I thought he was good, and I think it is really compelling that people people getting off of work in the UK could have been listening to that while someone in the West Coast was making breakfast, and while someone in the East Coast was on their lunch hour, and someone in Australia was going to bed or waking up, right? Like, I think there might really be something to that, and I know it will continually die off, but like everyone on Twitter was just talking about Beats One, like listening.
Oh, yeah.
And how could you not want to get in on that and to see what the conversation was?
Yeah, but at the same time, you know what happened today? Zane Lowe went on the air again and no one was talking about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing is, listen, I love Zane Lowe, as I've said on this podcast. I'm somebody who listens to it. I don't get the investment in this. It's dead, and I also found it pretty annoying. He really talked over the music like his name was Funkmaster Flex. Like it was really.
Isn't that
something.
what you do as a DJ?
No, that's very much like a New York hip hop thing to talk that much over the music. Like you don't do that. At least the college radio I listened to. I worked at a radio station for nearly a decade. We didn't do that like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't really know. But I thought it was interesting.
It's definitely interesting. I just don't know that it's really worth the investment.
Yeah, and we'll see. I have no idea either. But I'm curious to see how it continues. I did know that, like, I saw people that listening to like St. Vincent this morning. But
I said there's not enough money in the world to make me listen to St. Vincent ever again.
We talked about Connect. Can we talk about my favorite part?
Sure.
My music.
Yeah. So you talk about this. I'll tell you my side to it.
My dream came true.
Yes.
Truly, like, all I've ever wanted in a streaming service is Apple Music. I'm done. I'm done. This is it. I don't care about For You. I don't care about New. I don't care about radio. I don't care about Connect. I'm happy to have them. All I care about is the My Music area, and it's already incredibly pleasing for me. I like the dream I've been discussing. You load Apple Music, you have the music there that you've put into your iTunes for years or that you've bought, and then there's the rest of the world's streaming catalog, and you can either just play those and leave them and forget about them, or you can add them to your library, and they're just there alongside the music you've imported from a CD or that you've illegally downloaded or that you've bought. And you can download it offline. You can do whatever. You can already do those things on Spotify and Rdio, but on the go, on mobile, you can never have all those things in one app. You cannot have your iTunes music and your Spotify music on one app. And I finally have what I want, and it's already working. I went on like a kind of tweet storm last night, but for example, I have the self-titled Third Eye Blind album. I didn't have the other two records right after, so I added Blue and Out of the Vein. What else?
The two best ones, I might add.
Okay.
Blue and Out of Vein have the best songs on them. Just all the tacky lyrics about going down on girls because he's so weird.
He's so weird, man.
Like, what is with having multiple songs about that dog and then releasing them as singles?
He loves Velvet, too. What's his thing with Velvet?
Oh, yeah. I think he's just a real tacky old man.
He's old. He's older than you, man.
He's way older.
He's like in his 50s.
Like, he could have been, like, if he had knocked some girl up in his teenage years, he could be my dad.
Oh, my God. He could be...
But I did like his... He had a really good quote on the Twitter machine this morning I liked.
What was it?
I'm not going to get into it. This podcast doesn't need this.
Okay. So I added those. Another cool thing, you can add albums that haven't come out yet that you can like pre-order on iTunes, for example.
I thought that was awesome.
So the Wonder Years album, No Closer to Heaven, it was announced 12 hours before the service launched. I just hit the plus button, and now it's just chilling in my recently added section. The first single's there, and everything else will just appear on September 4th. Are you kidding me? That's great.
That is so dope.
It is
no
good
other
for
service
artists.
has that right now. Yeah, that is so killer.
Here's some other things. I never got around to listening to Hyperview by Title Fight. And I've always wanted to, but I get lazy to go into Spotify. And I know that's pathetic, but I do. And that's life. I listened to Paola by Dessa once when it streamed on Spin or NPR.
Did you really just call them Dessa?
Don't people do that?
No.
I see people do that.
That's not a thing.
People in Philadelphia do that.
The fuckboys do that.
Okay. I'll be a fuckboy. I think Kiner Oberst would consider me a fuckboy.
Can I just also say?
Yeah.
That's the album of the year.
Okay, so hold on. So I listened to it and I thought it was good, but then I never thought about it again. Cuz I wasn't going to buy it and I don't have the vinyl and I didn't get an advance of it. I was scrolling around on iTunes and I hit add. And same thing with the new Census Fail album. I've been hearing lots of things about this Australian lady named Courtney Barnett. I just hit plus.
Well, that record's not good.
People love it, man.
Listen, if I wanted to hear a girl talk over music, I'd just go to any coffee house and let my girlfriend talk.
Holy shit. You are so lucky that she doesn't listen.
Yeah, I know.
I told Grace on Sunday, I was like, I talk about you on the podcast a lot. And she's like, I don't care. I'm like, come on. If you told me that you talked about me on your podcast, I would have downloaded it by the time you finished your sentence.
You know what I realized was the odd thing when you tweeted the other day?
What?
That our girlfriends shared names.
Oh, yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
Yeah. We should stop talking about it. And so what happened? I added all those last night, and you know what I did today? I listened to all of that music today. It was really weird in a really good way, and I am like in love with this. It's just great. Like, there's all this music now that is just in my library, and it feels just like it was as if I bought it or downloaded it or put it in somehow else. And it's music that I would not have listened to otherwise. And for Title Fight or for Census Fail or for Third Eye Blind, that should be good for them. They should think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
So my take on it, So I went to turn on the iTunes match thing, and I had this thought, and then I realized what it was. Is that so? I guess probably a little unlike you, since I have much more vast music taste, and I'm not saying this as an insult. It's just the case.
It's true.
I have downloaded so many records I've never listened to that I figured I would just listen to, and then I also have downloaded literally from my iTunes collection before I had Rdio, like probably I have like 1 to 200 records that were just in my iTunes so I could listen to for a reference for a band's mix while I'm working. So I had this realization that, like everybody's talking about the 25,000 songs.
Yeah.
I have 150,000 songs in my iTunes library. So I had this
150?
150,000.
Wow. Yeah, Jesse Richmond from their website has like 50,000, and it's always a problem for him.
Yeah. So, and I used to also be that type of thing, like where I would just like, I'd see a torrent of a band's discography. I'd be like, oh, well, I might need to reference that for a record at some point. Let's just get that whole thing. And, I'd have it for work purposes, and I usually never listen to it, but like, I realized like there's no way I'm hitting match because just to scroll to find what I want, I will probably take 10 years. So I realized I have to make
Clean
a trim.
up.
Yeah, I like before I can commit to this, I have to make a trim down iTunes file. And I think that's the other thing I like is that, when I go through my Rdio, it really is what I've been doing in recent years. And I guess that's also a hard thing to go through is that like, I'm like, man, like I have some of my playlists are literally like 4 or 5 years old now. And it's hard to break up with my pop playlist where I put every single pop song I've enjoyed for the past couple of years.
What I will say real quick is Apple is planning on with the release of iOS 9 expanding its 25,000 song iTunes match field to 100,000 songs, which should really take care of almost everyone in the world except record producers. I would imagine. So that's good. Very good.
Yeah, agreed. I still got about 50,000 songs to trim down.
Yeah, like I have 10,000 songs in my library.
I know I can get rid of Metro Station Shake It pretty safely.
Are you sure, man? I watched them play it at Warped Tour like 5 times in the last week.
Oh, my God.
It was rough.
Oh, dear. So what else with this thing, or are we done?
Well, what do you think about this, like, as a first step? Like, do you think they did the bare minimum?
I don't think they did the bare minimum. They did lots of interesting ideas. I think it's a great service. I will probably continue messing around with it, but I, yet again, still can't leave Rdio until somebody makes a new release page as good as theirs.
That's silly to me.
You don't get it. Like, so of my listen,
When do you even listen to music, man? You hate music.
So this is what I was going to say. No, I always say this. I'm the person who devotes the most time to listening to new music to hate everything I hear of anybody I know. I ask people for recommendations. I look things up. I go through that new release page. I literally will devote time to make sure I hear every new release I want to hear.
Why don't you watch the movies I recommend you?
Because you like action movies, and that stuff's terrible.
I just started watching HBO's new series, Ballers.
I will never watch that.
With Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Terrible.
And I had to stop watching the pilot to record this goddamn podcast with you.
Well, that's definitely time better spent than listening to the intellectual wonderkin that is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Dude, he's a star.
Ugh, awful. The only thing worse than that show, I imagine, is The Brink, which I've watched 2 episodes of.
So that's, to me, that was my, like, I can't even watch this show.
Jack Black is the worst. He needs to retire.
Yeah, he is the worst.
He needs to retire.
Well, he's one of the headliners of Riot Fest this year.
Oh, rough times, dog.
But I will just say in closing sort of thoughts on Apple Music, like at the bare minimum, I'm sold. I'm
there. I'm definitely there for ease of use. I'm just not totally there.
And I don't think it's for everyone at the start. I think people who are heavily invested in Rdio or Rdio or Spotify have every right to either never switch over or to stay where they are, or to, take a while to switch over. But what I will say is, like, man, if you are someone, the large majority of the world has never tried a streaming service before.
Yes.
And if they tried Apple Music, I don't know why they would ever try anything else. I
agree.
And I think that's all that really like needs to be said. And if I were Spotify, if I were Daniel Ek at Spotify, I wouldn't be tweeting, "Oh, okay." It doesn't need to be better than their service. Like, I think the app itself is way better than Spotify's currently. Even though there are things that are
definitely mobile app. I agree.
Spotify's
I think
mobile app is like a disaster, and Spotify's desktop app is not good either. But iTunes sucks.
But playing on iTunes was good. I think that's another silly thing that people are saying is like, oh, it should have been a new app and all that stuff. That's great for all the people who want to listen to 3-hour podcasts of Apple nerds or that Gruber guy that you all jerk off to who like obsess over this stuff. But the normal person just wants something that works. And they made an app where now you can just listen to any song you want if you opt into this free trial.
I agree. And
that's a stunning thing, and it didn't disrupt anyone's life. Sometimes disruption is a bad thing. I don't want my life disrupted. I downloaded a new piece of software. It works. It does what it should do.
Agreed. I'm curious to see. Yeah, I'm curious to see if there's going to be any exclusives soon. I'm curious to see how often they update it, stuff like that. But what are we getting into?
Oh, a happy topic of a doughy, angry misogynist, his acoustic guitar, and some underage girls.
Which one?
Is there another one aside from him?
Maybe. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Jake McFillaresh from Porch Step.
I like that you kind of opted out of mumbling some of that last name because you didn't quite know how to pronounce it.
I definitely don't know how to pronounce it.
I think it's McIlfresh.
Okay, I think that's right. I woke up today. I went to the office. A couple hours in the office. A friend of mine who's on Warped Tour tweeted, "Front Porch Step is playing Warped Tour today." Who is Front Porch Step? Well, if you don't remember, at the top of 2015, Front Porch Step had the rug pulled out under him when a slew of allegations came out about him interacting and talking with in inappropriate ways with underage women, or underage girls, I should say, across the country. He was set to go on a spring headlining tours in legitimate sized venues with a band on my record label and a band in my management company, Head North and Have Mercy. That tour got canceled, and his career went up in smoke. He got dropped from Pure Noise. He bailed off of Warped Tour. 6 months later, he played Warped Tour today on July 1st in Nashville, Tennessee, to what was a horrific reaction to Kevin Lyman, a crucified reaction to Kevin Lyman online, and what happened. And additionally, some resistance as well at Warped Tour from artists, notably Soupy Campbell.
Some being the key. Yeah, I could barely call it resistance. He was so cagey, and I think it was almost cowardly that no band really took a stand against this.
I don't disagree. I will say that I think Kevin Lyman put every band in a bad situation today.
Yeah, he put every band in a bad. But that essay he wrote for Alternative Press showed so clearly that he's mad at people for making this a thing and that he doesn't get this.
I agree.
He doesn't get the severity of it.
I think from his stance, well, here's what I know. They're having a Warped Tour due to the wild backlash, because there was a lot of backlash from artists, whether it was publicly said or not. There was a mandatory meeting today in about 10 minutes, actually in about an hour and 10 minutes at 9 o'clock Central Time, where Kevin Lyman, I believe, will address all the bands and all the staff of Warped Tour and state that Jake McIlfresh, sorry.
Yeah.
Was for the past 6 months in Tennessee under the extreme care and watch of Music Cares, an organization that is set to help musicians through whatever they do, good or bad or troubled. And now it's
mostly drug addiction.
Yes,
they're a great organization. They've helped a lot of my friends.
And that this was allegedly him playing today was allegedly part of his rehab. What I will say to that is I think it's bullshit. I have something to lose potentially by saying that I think this was a bullshit move, and that I think his booking agent, Matt Pike, is sort of a coward who allows these things to continue to happen. I think that Kevin Lyman made a very poor move by there's a photo of him playing his set today, and 80% of the people in the front row were clearly underage girls who did not know or did not care. I think it's really unfortunate that the individual that controls every single step of Warped Tour, which is why Warped Tour is such a phenomenal and sometimes not a phenomenal thing, puts a predator, whether he is rehabbed or not, in front of an audience that he could potentially hurt forever.
Yeah, I just also don't think 6 months, when your moral compass set allows you to do this, I don't think 6 months is long enough to do that. And then secondly, Kevin Lyman has shown and I should say this as somebody who has the utmost respect for him. He has shown absolute disdain for everybody who's done this trial by internet for him, as it's been put. Like, those articles are so reactionary towards that this isn't convenient for you, so you're angry at the people who did it, so you're going to take the opposite side. Like, I don't get how you can be an intelligent person and write the things he's writing and take the position he's taking, and it really is awful. And now, while I do agree that, like, Trial by Defend Pop Punk Group is the worst dystopian future of an idiocracy
There's
I've
still
ever
reality. There are dozens of screenshots of him, of the singer, interacting with underage girls. Like, here's the thing. I don't know that he should never walk on the streets of whatever town in his entire life. I don't know. I don't think that he should probably be put behind bars forever and ever, but I do not think that he should be put open-handedly in front of Warped Tour when he betrayed the trust of everyone that helped him get there. And that's my thing.
Betrayed the trust? Is that really the thing, as much as just, like, is doing an activity that most band members don't engage in? And that's one of the other things I hate. I really have hated about this, is people go, well, every band does that. I've spent the last literally 22 years of my life around band people, and I hate to say it, and actually I'm very glad to say it, that most of the guys in bands do not engage in that behavior, while it is a cliche. Yes, some do. Yes, plenty have been caught, but 90% do not engage in that behavior.
Right, and that's how it should be. And if they want to engage in similar behavior, most probably do not engage with underage girls. And so I just, it's just really disheartening to me. This, frankly, as a business and a PR move, it's a real head scratcher. It feels more like, fuck this, I'm taking it back. I am in charge of this, and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want on my own tour. And that's not how you act when you can harm others. And look, this is bad. It's bad business for Warped Tour. It's bad business for the bands on Warped Tour. It's bad business for the sponsors, the abuse sponsors, the home care sponsors, the lesbian and gay rights sponsors. It's bad news for the record labels. It's bad news for the crew, who he puts in danger by, if 3 years from now this event takes place, or this event means that they're going to sell less tickets in 3 years from now and they have to cut their staff. It's bad for those people. It was very foolish. And
what happens if let's say the Dallas Morning Star decides to put an article and actually show these screenshots and show that Warped Tour endangered children? There's no ticket sales the next year to Warped Tour,
and there's no rebuttal or no accurate rebuttal, because this has happened. This is real. I think it's a shame that people on his team pretend that it's not real. I think it's a shame that his booking agent posts on Instagram that no one knows anything about the situation, that anyone that thinks he's wrong should unfollow him. I think this is like the most blatant, you can't catch me, here I am right in front of you getting away with this. I don't know, Jesse, if you saw, but he saw a girl threw an empty water bottle at him when he stepped on stage, and he went on a little rant and said, you don't know me. I am very proud of who I am. thanks for your ticket money, dude, and played his song.
Yes, I saw.
If I were him, I would be incredibly unproud of who I was. And that's probably how I would know he had changed even an inch from 6 months ago. But if he is proud of who he is after doing what he's done, he clearly should not have been given a chance, and he should not get a chance again. And it's very unfortunate.
Agreed. And I think the last thing I'd like to say is, like, there was a couple of things that were addressed at us on here, which is one, that the bands, I think it's a little ridiculous when the bands are saying we should boycott. The bands can boycott, and then some people said, oh, well, they'll lose their income for the summer and their opportunity. If one band threatened to drop off the tour, never mind if it was one of the bigger bands, it would cause such a controversy because it would put Warped Tour on the side of this fucking creep. And
Warped Tour is on the side of this creep.
Yes, but it would put them on such that side that there would be no way that they would do anything with them. Two, Warped Tour had to sneakily do this. They didn't warn anybody. They didn't say anybody. They didn't.
There was no warning. It only came out when the artist on the tour got the schedule for the day.
So then third, some people are like, well, maybe they were contractually liable to do this. And that's not true, because every one of these contracts always have a clause to explain to people who don't know that if you do something bad to ruin the reputation, you can break out of the deal. It's
Also,
the same
he doesn't
thing,
have well, let me even just further say, he doesn't have a deal. He dropped off the tour.
Yeah. But like to also say, this is the same thing for bands. Like, what you do with the band, if let's say you're the creepy guitarist sociopath of a very popular band and get caught looking at kiddie porn, there's a contract in your band agreement that says that if you ruin their reputation, they don't have to pay you anymore. That's in every band agreement. And yes, bands sign this thing called a band agreement that sets out rules for it. Most of your favorite bands that make any money have it, unless they're absolute idiots.
So we'll see. Maybe we'll do a follow-up next week, depending on what happens on this band meeting and if there's any other fallout. But regardless, just hard. Like, I see tons of people, and I don't know if they'll follow through with this, but just simply saying, like, well, I'm not going to Warped Tour. I don't feel safe at Warped Tour. It's very unfortunate that I saw, women crew workers on the tour that tweet things like that. They did not feel comfortable at Warped Tour today. And that's a shame, because those people ensure trust in Kevin Lyman and his staff to make them feel safe as they travel into 41 different parking lots across the country. And I think that's a bummer. On this episode of Cheery Off the Record.
So on a lighter note, let's do some recommendations. So I see that we both have the same one, which is Mr. Robot, which is...
What do you think about this? So let me just say something real quick. USA is my favorite TV network.
Oh my God, I've never liked anything else on there.
I watch the majority of shows I watch are on USA. They have been forever. And Jesse would hate all these shows, but like White Collar, like Suits, like Royal Pains, like back in the day, Monk, Psych, etc. I love USA, and I had made a note to check out the show when I saw a trailer for it a month or two ago. And then on Twitter, I saw people, like tech people, freaking out about it. And I was like, well, this is weird. And so I watched it last night.
It's the best first episode of a television in the history of television.
I think that's wrong, but I thought it was a really good episode of TV.
Which episode is better?
I don't know, of all the pilots in the, like, there's a lot of compelling pilots, I feel like.
I think usually pilots are terrible.
To me, you know what the most like jaw-dropping first episode of a pilot was of recent memory? The Newsroom.
Oh, I liked that show. I don't agree.
That sold it on me. What I will say about Mr. Robot, and people should watch it if they're interested, is it was blunt. Like, they went for there were things like within they went after this little crucible of like major tech companies, including Apple, and I was like, man, if I was the president of USA, I would not have let this run. Like, they went for it. It was really interesting.
I do agree.
Thank you for listening to Off the Record this week. We'll be cheerier next time, maybe. You can listen live at adobe.com, or you can subscribe to us on iTunes or at offtherecord.fm. Thank you, and we'll be back.